My name is Steve Marsh, and I'd like to welcome you to Meet the Experts. And tonight's guest is Mark Kennedy, who is a marketing guru. Let me give him that name. And he's been around in the industry for a long time and helped out a whole lot of companies. But first, before we get to Mark, though, I want to introduce my co-host. And this is Bryan O'Halleck. Bryan, say hi.
I just work here.
You just work here.
You guys are the marketing experts. I can just coast. I'll just relax, listen to you guys talk.
He's phoning it in. Great.
We just really want to, again, welcome you to this presentation. This is one of the many benefits of being a member of CFI, but currently these webinars that we hold on the first and second Wednesdays of the months are open to the public. So if you know anyone in the cleaning industry who would like to be able to actually even ask questions of the top experts and business owners, this is the kind of place to be on Wednesday evenings. And the other, so we have actually 3 webinars we do. On the first Wednesday of every month, we have this one, which is Meet the Experts, and then we alternate with a webinar called Success Wisdom. And I really enjoy this one because this is where we have a couple of hosts, and then they have a panel of 3 very successful business owners. And that sort of rotates through, and they get into the nitty-gritty of, you know, how do you run a business? And it's kind of like being a fly on the wall, watching how professional carpet cleaners do their everyday work of interacting with the customers, talking on the phones. And it is just a wealth of information. You know, I think I know it all, but I listen to these guys and I go, oh, I haven't thought of that. And so that it will be next month that they will continue on that. And it's just a great opportunity. Also on the second Wednesdays is the Spanish team. Now, I do not speak Spanish, but I am so pleased with how well that has been going. And they take a variety from marketing to technical. I watch on them a lot, and I watch their pictures that they have in the videos where they actually get down and show how to clean and get spots out of different things, and then just cover all sorts of topics. And these are just great guys. So encourage you. These are open to non-members and members. But the advantage is if you are a CFI member, all of these programs, these webinars are recorded, and we have a library of them, which that alone would make it worthwhile becoming a member of CFI, is to access these things, because you can go to specific topics, listen to them multiple times. And again, the information there is incredible. CFI just has all sorts of benefits, from regional opportunities to get together. We get together during the convention in Las Vegas, and we're adding more and more benefits all the time. There are discounts for insurance, many reasons for being a member. One other thing I'll just throw in is I am retired from the industry, and I had an entire marketing program, and I have donated that to CFI as a benefit. So if you are a member of CFI, you get single truck success and many other marketing tools and training becomes available to you just because you are a member. And so I'm really proud of that they are continuing on my reputation for me. But Bryan, just real quick, you've been part of the cleaning industry associations for years. What sort of benefits have you gotten over the years from being involved?
Well, really everything to do with business, with the industry, just going to events, being around people who know things. I think everybody that gets involved with the trade association realizes that you don't have to know anything anymore. Once you're part of this club, group, whatever, there are people that know everything. So you can know what you know and know people who know, and it's pretty comforting. The other thing is getting involved with the association at a board level, management level. It feels like giving something back to the industry, but also I've been able to do work with the state of Washington, have some level of control over sustainable cleaning practices legislation, and also work with some state programs to do with ground dumping water. In each case, the people are very practical and very reasonable, and they valued the input from somebody who was there doing that. And the only reason I was there was because I was involved with the trade association. So if we didn't have a trade association in place for me to go be with them, whatever legislation would have happened would have just happened to us. We wouldn't have had any say in the matter. So that doesn't happen without the association.
Great. It's nice to, we don't want a bunch of politicians just coming in and, making judgments for us. It's sure nice to be able to have representation as you have done for us. And so there's so many benefits. If you've been a long time person, like Bryan said, it's the opportunity sort of to give back and help mentor some young people, newer people in the industry. And if you're new, it's just like, oh, these are people who are not competition. These are people who are looking for you to succeed. I've from teaching for many years, I was in this one city in California, and I would hear the stories about they would drive by carpet cleaners and they would wave at them, but they wouldn't quite have all of their fingers upright. And they saw them as competition. And really, we need each other. There is enough work out there that it really helps to have people you trust, their skill levels. They can teach you, they can bail you out when you're sick or your equipment breaks down. There's camaraderie here that I don't think I would have made it without it. So it's just, at least I would have had a lot less hair than I do now. But anyway, so to move right along, Bryan, why don't you introduce our guest and we will get into the really good stuff.
Well, I'm sorry, Mark, I had a really long introduction plan, but then Steve started talking.
Hey,
Well, this is the famous Mark Kennedy. And to differentiate him from all the other famous Mark Kennedys, he's the guy that wrote Secrets of the Carpet Cleaning Supergiants and runs the Levels of Success program. Pretty well established as a marketing expert. And very, very nice of you, Mark, to come on and just talk to us for free.
You guys aren't paying me? Oh, man.
You get paid what I get paid.
Exactly. No, it's great to be here. Honestly, I've had things to do with CFI over the years, and great organization. Really is one of the better run organizations out there, I think. And this is really innovative and really nice. So nice job with what you guys are doing here. So yeah.
Marketing guy. Ask a marketing guy question.
You're on, man. We're both on. This is hard.
Well, we want to talk about marketing. So the question is, why do we even do sales? How important is this? Isn't it one of these things that you start a business and, hey, we're the best because we try the hardest? And aren't they just going to flock to us and just everybody who's going to hear you go, oh, no, Steve's got this great carpet cleaning business and they're going to be lining up and I'll be booked out months in advance. That's what I was told.
Sounds great. Where do I sign up? Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I get that. I get the marketing, title slapped on me a lot, and I do marketing and I'm pretty good at it. But if I do say so, but primarily I cut my teeth in sales, not really marketing, which is closely related, of course, and it helps you to market. But the thing is marketing's kind of like it's responsible for volume, in the way I kind of look at it. Marketing is like the number of jobs that come through the door, right? But then sales is directly related to how big those jobs end up being. and of course there's good ways to do sales and there's bad ways to do sales. And we've all experienced the bad ones. We've all got a nightmare story about a guy that tried to sell us a car one time or something. But but I think that sales really, in my world, is kind of the great multiplier. What I do a lot of is I help people get their businesses ready to sell. And one of the things we're really trying to do is we're driving revenue and we're driving profit. And you really can't do that without sales. So,
well, Mark, sometimes I think sometimes people want to work on their marketing program because it's not as scary as sales. I'm not quite sure why sales is scary because you're just talking to people.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a matter of practicing in the mirror or just being comfortable or finding a way to do it. I assume that you're going to have some suggestions along those lines.
Yeah, sure. I came up with a program that is really successful. It works. And the cool thing about it is it's easy to give. And the greatest thing about it of all is you don't sound like a salesperson when you're doing it. I think most people avoid sales because they don't want to be that pushy jerk that, everybody hates. You don't want to be that classic salesperson guy. I don't want to do that. So, it's like, well, we've got to find a way to do it that's cool, that's not invasive and not in people's faces and a way that, that allows people to buy, but maybe influences them, but does it subtly. And I figured out a way to do that, a pretty elegant way, I think. And that's what I'd like to, to talk about tonight here is, just kind of like how I came up with that and how it works and what's behind it and all that sort of thing.
Okay, so we can just lean forward here and you can talk, right?
Sure.
All right.
You can lean forward, you can sit back, you can even go sideways if you want.
Well, and sort of, I was talking to this person earlier today, and she's an owner of a business in Arizona and new to the business and just feeling like, oh, what she's used to is seeing all of these low prices,
Right.
in the ads and the Valpak and that sort of thing. And that's kind of like a new company. That's what they see. And they
Sure.
start with the assumption that the lowest price is the most important thing. And I kind of get the impression that that's maybe not the best way to approach it.
Yeah, I've never found it to be because, that's the one thing you don't really bring to the table. I mean, is it? It's like if you're doing things correctly, if you're actually trying to do a good job, you're pre-vacuuming, you're using corner guards, you're pre-spraying, all of that stuff that we learn, it's like, okay, here's how you're supposed to do it. Well, that takes time. It takes a lot of time. You're never going to be the lowest price guy. There's always going to be actually more than one. There's going to be a bunch of people that are cheaper than you. And so what that sort of means is that we're all in kind of a game where it's like, okay, I don't have that to sell, but I've got other things to sell, and the truth is, like, if you ask people, if you say, if your customers knew what you know about how you clean carpet, would they do business with anybody else? And in a lot of cases, that answer is no, they wouldn't. It's just that they don't know. They don't know how you do it that makes you unique or special, or how much harder you try or how much more time you spend. And so I think that, rather than just getting the phone to ring with low price offers, I think marketing kind of has to take the role of education and getting those customers that, that kind of get you, that sort of understand that, you're not just another one. You're somebody that's operating on a little different level. That everybody says they want to operate on a different level, but you know what I mean? It's like, if you can actually state the things that make you different, then price tends to kind of evaporate a little bit, to the degree that you're able to state what makes you better or what makes, what they get from you that they don't get from somewhere else. And I don't know that that's marketing so much as it's just good sense,
Well, what I have found is actually in selling anything, there are three general markets, target markets. There's a low end, there's kind of a mid range, and there is, an upscale higher end. And
Sure.
any decent sized community has each of those target markets. So I'm assuming we're not going for the apartment stuff and necessarily a commercial, but assuming that you want to go for somebody who actually has their carpets clean because they have a nice house and they care about it, and maybe even a upscale type home. Again, in California, almost everything is upscale here, um,
Anymore, yeah.
but how do you, like approach them and talk to them and kind of overcome this sense that because we kind of grew up with this thinking we got the lowest price. Is there a way that
Sure.
you can word things to make it
Yeah.
across a little
Yeah.
bit?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, let me jump into, to some of my material here. And I could start by telling a story about it was a psychology department, and it was in Arizona, and they were studying this one principle. And the way I solve this is I use two principles. I use one called strategic comparison and one called strategic compromise. And understanding these two principles it made all the difference for me. Because when I had my business, I had the same problem as well. I was in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which isn't a massive market. There's a lot of money there, but not everywhere. As you say, there's three markets, and I didn't. Sure, we all have the story about the guy that's got the house on the hill, and we clean for him, and those are cool places to do. But and people have built businesses around that. But most people, I think, if you're trying to get any kind of scale going, you're going to be sort of upper mid, or that's kind of where the sweet spot is, because you're kind of grabbing both of those groups. You're grabbing the middle group and the upper group at that level, I think, and you can provide a good service. But anyway, getting back to the psychology department, they were studying this principle. And so what they did is they found this guy that was a business owner in town, and they said, listen, we'd like you to work with us to do this experiment. And so he's like, okay, what do you want me to do? And turns out this guy sells billiard equipment. So pool tables, cues, all the stuff you need to play pool, the chalk, all of it. So they said, okay, here's the deal. We're going to put these cameras up, hidden cameras, and we're going to put microphones in your store. And for 1 month, we're assuming that you have like a range of products, right? And the guy's like, yeah. So if somebody wants to buy a pool table, he's got a cheap pool table, and he's got a really, off the hook pool table that's really expensive. And he's got pool tables in between. And the same is true for pool cues and for the chalk and everything. So they said, all we want you to do is when somebody comes in and they want to buy whatever it is, pool cue, pool table, chalk, you show them the least expensive version that you carry. And then we just want you to back off and don't really influence their decision in any way. Let them buy what they want. And at the end of the month, they went in and they figured out what his average sale was. His average sale was $550. And they said, okay, thank you very much. Now we'd like to ask you to help us one more time. The guy says, sure, what do you want me to do? And they said, okay, this time when somebody comes in, they want to buy a pool table, they want to buy a pool cue, they want to buy a piece of chalk, whatever it is, you show them the most expensive version that you have, but then back off, don't influence their decision in any way, and let's see what happens. Now, I ask people, what do you think happened? And everybody always says, well, the average job size must have gone up, right? And I say, well, okay, well, by how much? If you could make an increase of 20%, you'd be a pretty good sales consultant, actually. You can make a lot of money doing that, right? So what they did is they calculated his average job size, and it was $1,050. So it almost doubled. Now, keep in mind that this is the same guy selling the same stuff from the same store to the same people. The only thing that changed was how he presented what he was already offering, which is a pretty profound realization, I thought. I was like, what is going on here? and it turns out that we think comparatively. So if if I basically, you know what, I'm going to share my screen real quick because I want to show you guys something. So just let me get that started. Okay, here we go. All right, so can you guys see this?
Sure can.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So all right, so you should be looking at a pool table, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right, cool. So it turns out that if I put a cylinder on the table in front of you, your brain looks at that and says, okay, it's a cylinder. And I say, that's right. And then I say, all right, here's another cylinder. And your brain says, okay, same kind of thing, same color. It's twice as big though. Got it. And I say, okay, here's a third cylinder. And your brain looks at that cylinder and says, okay, same size, pretty much same shape. This one's 3 times as big. Got it. Now what's happening here is these last 2 cylinders actually seem larger because they're getting compared to the first cylinder. But if I were to go back in time and undo all that and do it differently, I could do it this way. I could say, hey, here's a cylinder. And your brain would go, okay, it's a cylinder. And I'd say, that's right. And then I'd show you the second cylinder. And your brain would say, all right, same size, same shape, pretty much, just 2/3 as big. Okay, got it. And if I show you the third cylinder, you do the same thing. Your brain says, okay, it's 1/3 as big. So what's happening here is these last 2 cylinders seem smaller because they are, of course, but here's the question. This is what really got my attention. That middle cylinder, was that thing 2 times as big or 2/3 as much? Because it's the same size. It hasn't changed at all. And in fact, what we've got here is kind of a situation where the big cylinder is either a 3 or a 1. The middle cylinder is either a 2 or a 2/3, and the little cylinder is either a 1 or a 1/3.
Mark, if I can just interrupt you for a second there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see the slides on the left-hand side. We're still seeing the billiard balls. Can you click on what I think you're describing there?
You know what? It says my screen sharing is paused, and I don't know why it's paused.
Okay. Chauncey will fix that for us here.
Let's see. Oh, here it goes. It says resume share. Let me punch that and see if that does anything. I got nothing.
Because I can see him off to the side there, and so I'm following you, but
yeah,
in the center screen.
Interesting. All right, hang on. I'm going to stop share and restart it.
Okay.
Sometimes that.
Because I think your illustration is worth finding that.
Yeah.
Because just even as you're describing that, I'm going, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of it differently as you were just talking about it. So
now you're seeing it, right?
I'm seeing it now. Yes.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah. So what we've got is let me just kind of go back and recap. We've got this situation, where we've got the little cylinder first and 2 times as big and 3 times as big. You guys seeing that? Did that switch?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Or we've got this, which is the big cylinder first, which is 1, and then 2/3 and then 1/3. And then we sort of have this, kind of weird conundrum here where, things really aren't the same at all, even though they are the same, they're the same size. They haven't changed at all, but the way we perceive it has changed, which is kind of an interesting thing. Because basically the way our industry is modeled is it's this model. We've got this idea that, we advertise the low price, and then we know we're supposed to upsell because we know we're not going to make any real money if we don't. But now we're going in the home, and we sound like the silver-tongued devil, and I mean, I personally don't like doing that. I mean, I'm pretty good at it. I've done it before, but I don't like the way it's not a nice relationship to have with people. You're really forcing them into something. And if you're trying to get your people, your employees to do this, forget about it. There's no way, because that's not who they are. That's not how they even conceive of their job in a lot of cases. And so, we tell them, we'll go out and sell Protector, and it's like, yeah, nobody wants it, and it's like, really? Because, man, I can sell it all day. But, the guy's like, I'm trying, I ask, and I mean, for all we know, he's saying, well, you don't want Protector, do you? We don't know exactly how that sales presentation is being made, but it's being made somehow. What's interesting, though, is that if we started here, we kind of have a different flow, and so like the question I ask is, let's say I get a job at a department store, and they want me to help out, and the thing is, I'm not too bright, so they're like, yeah, Kennedy, why don't you go mark down those shirts? Those shirts are $79, and we want them to be $49. And I say, no problem, I am on it. And so what I do is I go cut all of the old price tags off, and I put new ones on that are $49. Now, I technically did mark them down, but the question is it still a good buy? If you didn't know they used to be $79, there's absolutely no reason why you'd want the shirt for $49 at all. It's just another shirt with a price tag on it. So these are kind of some interesting roads that I've gone down. I don't know. What do you weigh in on this? What do you guys think of this thing?
I think you've hit it on the head just with why is sales scary? Why does somebody not want to do it? If you're using this method where you're pushing people into an upper stratosphere, that's uncomfortable. And it's probably uncomfortable for the customer too.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. It seems like it is for me. The truth is, though, we've all got, kind of a simple choice to make, because we've all got different offerings, and we're either going to do it one way or we're going to do it the other way, but nobody ever thinks to do it the other way. And so the kind of the analogy I use is, if this is my service here, I've got like and I made the numbers nice and round to keep it easy, because, nobody wants to do higher math right now. So if my base service is $100, and then I've got a $200 option that includes some add-ons, and I've got a $300 option that includes everything I could possibly do, man, we're gonna sweep the porch and we're gonna shampoo the dog. We're doing everything. So this is what I've got. I have to offer those options somehow, and the thing is, if I do it the traditional way, I guess would be a good way of putting it, it's almost like the prices seem a little bigger than they really are, because everything's getting compared to that $100 frame, But if we do it the other way, if we come down on it, then it's almost like it happens in reverse. We almost end up in this place where the prices are actually seeming lower, and it becomes really easy. Or at least there's a lot less resistance, would be a good way of saying, to spending that money. But the question is, how do you do that? How do you pull it off? How do you start at the top? And that's basically the first principle that I teach, is this idea that we think comparatively, and the way you present stuff has a huge, huge impact in how customers perceive what it is you're offering them, which is really weird. But what's interesting is that if I do this, I can actually change the way the customer sees it, but I'm doing it completely invisibly. They're not, there's no pressure necessarily with this. The pool table guy didn't pressure anybody. He just showed them stuff.
Well, that almost sounds too simple, but it is that strategy. And it's just like, well, it's just the order that you presented in. And I can see how that really works. And especially your example about, clipping off the tag and lowering the price. Well, now that shirt, went down in price, but that became the new standard instead of that slash through it. And
Yeah.
huge difference. My daughter was pointing out to me at a grocery store, she's in Seattle, and they raised all their prices, but they raised their prices and kind of slashed the new high prices. They slashed through it and say it's special today. It was the same price she paid the week before, but it's easing you into that price is going up next week.
Sure.
And the same kind of idea, you suddenly make a price like, oh, this is discounted, and we feel really good about it.
Yeah. I mean, realtors do this, if you sell real estate, you can have what's called a setup home. And I mean, you're not supposed to do this, technically, although I don't think it's actually breaking any laws, but basically what you do is you have the house that you think the couple's going to buy, right? And then what you do is you find a house that's overpriced and ideally smells like the wrong end of a cat, and you take them through that one first, and they're walking around going, oh, it's in the wrong school zone. The neighbors are bad. The thing smells bad and it's dirty and it needs work and it's a lot of money, and they're kind of in this weird place, and then you show them the house that you think they're going to like and they'll pounce on it. If you show them that house first, what they'll do is they'll say, yeah, it looks pretty nice. What else you got? So that order in which you present things matters more than you would think. And honestly, one of the biggest challenges I have in getting people to adopt this is just to try it. It doesn't seem like it should work as well as it does. But I mean, it does. It really does. It's amazing. I've sold a lot of stuff with this model. It's kind of weird.
Now, does it help to have these packages written form so they can see it, or does it work just as effectively in a verbal conversation like on the phone?
I mean, it does work on the phone. Ideally, of course, obviously, if you're sitting across the table and you've got visual cues and you can show them stuff and you're telling them about it and, it's very immersive, that's always going to have more effect and more impact than, just a verbal conversation. It would be like listening to this on, driving in your car on a podcast. If you're not seeing the visual information, it's not as strong, but it still works. So I have people, because obviously when you're going to do business with a cleaning company, the first thing they're going to do is call and set the appointment. And so the people on the phone follow this idea, and it does work. And you can sell commercial cleaning with it, even when you're giving proposals. Even when you're giving proposals to somebody that is then going to present it to a board meeting or something like that, where you're not even going to be there, this works. You just need to give them different options and always start with the biggest.
Give me a couple of examples for somebody who's new in the industry and they're cleaning rentals or apartments, something like that. It is just, it's vacant. It's like you just go in and, clean the rugs and get out. Can you kind of give me some examples of what gets added on to bump the level of that price up? How are you adding services? Just so people can visualize in their minds if they haven't done that before. What are some additional things that would take it to the second tier and then the third tier? Sure.
Now, I would say, I mean, my advice to everybody that's cleaning apartments is, just stop it. Not that you can't do well in apartments. I mean, I know a guy that makes a lot of money cleaning apartments, but he does a lot of dying. And his average job size is about, it's north of $500. So when he goes into an apartment, he's there for a while and he's doing a lot of work and he's getting well paid. But it's really, really hard to make any money if you're, cranking through an apartment for $45 and just, banging them out all day. There's just not a lot of blue sky there. But so when I say commercial, I'm thinking more like office buildings, the office building down. I mean, one company that I worked with was in a pretty large city, and they did a lot of, they did office buildings where they did several floors, and these buildings were the size of an entire city block. So there's that. There's doctors and dentists' offices and just various things like that. I mean, there's a lot of carpet out there, and so add-on services might be like let's say you're going to hit it with a pile lifter, because there's a lot of dirt in the traffic lanes down in the lobby or in the the rotation points out in front of the elevators, so pile lifting. How often is spot cleaning getting done? What's the level of spot cleaning that's getting done? Are you going through on, every so often and literally cleaning up anything that needs cleaning up? Are you stopping by once a week to hit all the traffic areas? There's so many different variations of it, but all of that could be considered an add-on to your proposal. So what I tell people is, figure out what you think they're going to want and create something that's bigger than that, and then create something that's smaller than that. But there is another principle that I'd love to talk about, because that kind of works hand in hand with this. I do have some examples I can show you, and we can jump into that afterwards. But I think it'll make a lot more sense if I go through the second principle.
All right, sounds good to me.
Cool. So the first point is just that people think by comparing things, and you can't shut it off. It's the way your brain works. So you kind of can't get away from it. The next principle that I call is strategic compromise. And it is the idea that you get a no, and then you get a yes. And so, I'll give you an example. Let's pick on Bryan. So let's say, we go to Bryan and we say, okay, Bryan, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go out to your entire network, everybody you know, everybody you've talked to, everybody you go to church with, go to the gym with, went to high school with, everybody. And you're going to ask them to borrow $20. So he's going to go around and say, hey, times are a little hard. Would you mind lending me like $20? And, what's going to happen is he's going to have a lot of people lending $20. And he's probably going to have a few people that are like, no, I'm out, forget it. Depends, right? So if at the end of the day, we could say, okay, Bryan, you did it. How much money you got, right? And we could measure that amount of money. Now, what if we could go back in time and give him the same homework, as it were, but make it a little different? This time, what we do is we say, okay, Bryan, here's the deal. You walk up to everybody in your church or gym or whatever, and you say, hey, listen, things are a little rough. Do you think you could lend me like $100? And I mean, maybe they will, right? If they do, take the money. But if they don't, no problem. Well, how about just 20? You think you could do just 20? I mean, you can feel the difference, right? He's going to end up with a bigger stack of 20s. And he's also going to end up with a stack of a few hundreds, which is pretty cool. So it's kind of neat. Again, a psychology department studied this. And what they did is they took a room full of people and they said, okay, listen, we're looking for volunteers. We want to see if you guys would be willing to help us out. We've got this group of juvenile delinquents, and we want you to take them to the zoo on Saturday afternoon for like 4 hours. Anybody? And amazingly, they got 17% of the room, which astounds me because that does not sound like a fun afternoon to me, just saying. But what they did then is they cleared out that group. They got a new group and they asked it a different way. This time they said, listen, we're working with some juvenile delinquents and we're looking for people that would be willing to spend 2 hours a week for 2 years. Anyone? They basically didn't get anybody because people are like, oh, no way, forget it, I'm out. Then they said, wow, well, how about just the zoo this Saturday for like 4 hours? Would you guys be willing to do that? They got over half of the room. And the difference was just, again, it's kind of the way you present it, right? But if you look at what's really going on here, they made a big request and they got a no. And then they kind of backed down to a second smaller request. And there's tremendous force on them to say yes. And interesting little aside, before we jump into this, I actually taught this to a pretty large rug cleaning company back east. And the rug plant manager had this little girl that was like in the 5th grade. And they were having a school contest. There was a raffle. And first prize was a trip to Disney. And she wanted to go. She was going to win this thing, by God. And so her dad said, all right, so here's what you do, sweetie. We're going to take these raffle tickets. We're going to put a rubber band around 10 of them. And what you do is you go to the door and you say, hey, mister, you want to buy 10 tickets for $10? And sweetie, they're going to say no. But when they do, you say, well, how about just one for $1? Well, guess who won the contest? It's, it works. A fifth grader can do it. So when you put these two things together, you end up with, I think you can see that this feeds right into our thing, that we've already figured out. It's like, all right, we know we need to start big, and we know that if they say no to the big offering, they're far more likely to buy one of the other offerings. And these are the same offerings that I'm offering anyway, right? I haven't raised my price. I haven't done anything else. All I'm doing is changing what I'm presenting to my people. And so what I did is I looked at these two things and I was like, God, what would that look like for a carpet cleaner? And what I came up with was this. It's like, okay, my big service, well, it includes a good cleaning, it includes protector, and it includes moving the furniture. And I was like, oh, this is going to be brilliant because I don't want to move furniture. So I'm going to get to charge for that. I'm not going to throw it in anymore. I'm going to make it a thing, and I'm going to charge for it, and I'm going to get them to say no to it. And then when they say no, they're going to drop down to my gold package, which is just cleaning and protector, which is the most profitable thing I could possibly do, right? And if they say no to that one, then they're far more likely to just go with the cleaning, and I could maybe upsell them a little something in a room or two, and it works. It works great. And you'll see on this little form that I did down there at the bottom right, which is kind of like where you put the total. If you notice, what I've got there isn't the total, it's the approximate replacement cost of carpeting. And I don't sell carpeting, right? Why is that number there? Any ideas?
I've never heard of this one before. This is great. Yeah, because it's a huge amount.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, by the way, Mrs. Jones, just to let you know, you've got 1,000 square feet of carpet here. To replace that with middle of the road carpet, it'd probably be, I don't know, $3,000 to $5,000, probably something like that, neighborhood, just in case you were wondering. Now, let me just show you what we have to offer you. And this is the line. It's like, let me show you what we have to offer, and you let me know which one you'd prefer. Is there any pressure here? There's no pressure here at all. It's like ordering off of a menu in a restaurant. They're like, oh, yeah, great. I'll stop you when I'm ready. Now, here's the tricky part of this, though. You have to ask them if they want to buy the platinum package because you got to get the no. It won't work if I say, okay, the platinum package includes everything and it's $700. And then we've got the gold package and it's $500. And then we got the silver package and it's $300. Which one do you want? You just said $300. They're going to go with that one because you went too fast. So what it sounds like is something along the lines of, all right, Mrs. Jones, let me just cover the options with you here. You let me know which one you'd prefer. First, we've got our platinum package. Now, this includes everything that we offer. It's our top of the line service. It includes the manufacturer's recommended cleaning process. That includes a 6-month spot and spill warranty. You get protector, and you get us moving all of your furniture and everything. Now, that would be $700 for the areas we've talked about. Would you like to go with the platinum package today? I ask them straight out, do you want it or not? And if they're like, that's a lot, $700 is a lot of money for a carpet cleaning, yeah, what else have you got? I say, no problem, Mrs. Jones. I wanted them to say no to that. I don't want to move furniture. Come on, I'm not a furniture mover. I'm a carpet cleaner, right? So now I just say, well, we've got our gold package. It includes everything in the platinum package except for the furniture moving. And it's only $500. Does that sound a little better? And she goes, yeah. And I say, great, I'll get started in the bedroom. And I just sold protector, and I just upsold kind of, except there was no pushy sales tactic going on. And, you know, it was easy and it works. It flat out works. It's weird.
Now, the one thing that people are going to have to do, though, is they're going to have to harden their heads and be okay, have that salesman's heart where it's okay to hear no. No is not a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, the little girl had to ask for the $10 for 10 tickets first. And that's true. But I mean, the fact of the matter is a technician's going to go out there and they're going to have to offer this stuff anyway, somehow. Right. So, you know, what I do is I present it very much like a menu. You know, this is a menu, you know, show them the menu and let them order what they want. You know, people tend to order off the menu. By the way, what's the package that's not on here? Did you catch that? Did you even notice that? Where's the one where I move all the furniture and don't do protector? Right? I don't want to do that.
No.
That's the worst thing I could do. So I put the stuff on the menu that makes my restaurant work, you know, and so what this does is it sells protector like there's no tomorrow. I mean, if you go to most companies and say, you know, do you guys sell a lot of protector? You know, most owners will be like, oh yeah, we sell lots of protector. And it's like, well, how much? You know, what percentage? And more often than not, they have no idea, but they'll make up something, you know, oh, it's like 30%, you know, and then you climb into the actual numbers and it's like, you know, it's like 7, you know, it's really low. You can take an average technician and give him this little presentation, you know, if that's what you want to call it, which I guess it is. And he can go out there and he can reliably sell protector on over 60% of the jobs. Now, he might not get protector on every room, but he's going to get it at least in the living room and the dining room and, you know, the traffic areas and stuff like that, just because he brought it up in this way. And so it's really an easy way for employees to do this, because as an owner, I think a lot of owners are really good at selling. You know, you kind of have to be. And then they kind of are a little puzzled when their employees aren't as good as they are at it.
Well, I like your strategy, and I heard it the first time you said it, and it made me laugh as you go, no, you put that furniture moving one, which I hate doing that because that's just a pain, and that's where things go wrong. And I don't want to do that. Please say no. And it's sort of my feeling in that presentation when you do it that way. And then you get down to, oh, this is, no, I really like that balance. And then again, I've never heard this suggested before. The approximate replacement cost frames it that, you know, that's a fraction. I mean, you're cleaning and it's going to make it so you can delay this for years and years, and it puts it all in perspective. And
yeah, it really does, doesn't it?
It's a nice combination. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was kind of clever, you know. But I mean, you know, everybody does this. I mean, like if you go to Vegas, right? You know, like Steve, I met you, you know, at the experience. You know, we were having a drink out by the pool, and I mean, if you go down to one of those, you know, like the Forum shops or something, you know, they've got places that sell watches, you know, and they've got the you know, the Patek Philippe watch, you know, that's like $50,000 out in the window. I mean, how many of those do they really sell? Do they sell $50,000 watches every day? I'm thinking no, but they sell Rolexes like there's no tomorrow, right? You know, people come in there and spend $3,000 to $5,000 on a watch, no problem. It's easier to do if there's $50,000, $100,000, $300,000 watches in the place, because it, as you say, it puts things in perspective. You know, if you're trying to sell the $3,000 watch and, you know, everything else is a Timex, yeah, that might be a little hard.
Now, I do want to warn you that if you do this, you're going to run into people like my wife, who's never seen a restaurant menu she couldn't rearrange.
Sure. And so you give your wife, you do what you do. You give your wife whatever she wants, you know, no problem. I mean, you know, it's just that, over 90% will just follow the track. And yeah, there's a few that'll look at this and they'll see the hole right away. It's like, boom. Well, I want my furniture moved and I want my carpets cleaned, but I don't want protector. And that's like, okay, sure, we do that. But I'm going to charge you for furniture moving, right? I mean, that's going to have a charge, and I'm going to try and make sure that charge is figured correctly. Because, I've often said, I mean, if you're moving, don't call a mover. No, call a carpet cleaner, man. They'll do it for like 4 cents a square foot, or some of them will throw it in, just to, be able to get to the carpet. We'll move everything. Some lady's been collecting stuff for 27 years and, it's laying everywhere. You're going to be there all day. It's not profitable.
That's great.
It's great because it's true.
do you recommend having a presentation book when you're actually at the house and have measured and you're coming up with the details with something like this on it so that the consumer can see it? Does that make that more effective?
Yeah, funny story there. When I first did this, I did exactly that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it just the way insurance people do or real estate people do. And I made this big book, man. This thing was like 38 pages long. And, when it hit the table, there was a noticeable funk. It scared the hell out of everybody. It scared the customers. It scared the technicians. I mean, it was a good idea, but no. So now what I do is I basically have this sheet that's on your screen right now, and it's laminated. And a lot of times what people will do is they'll take like a dry erase marker and they can write the prices right in on the sheet. And, they can wipe it off and use it, next time. And, it stays relatively clean. Things have a fairly short half-life when they're kicking around a carpet cleaning van, as you well know. But yeah, I mean, it's, it's nice to have to have this in print so that people can see what they're looking at.
Yeah, if I could just add a suggestion, I like your whiteboard concept that you can just use it multiple times. Mm-hmm. Because once you've figured the price, the consumer doesn't need to be able to look at that again necessarily. But also, if on that, if you have your logo at the top, but down toward the bottom, say you're like IICRC certified, and that you're a CFI member, and these emblems of your association with the industry makes it look like you are far more professional than that other guy who doesn't have anything except his business card, like, to write it.
Exactly. Yeah. He writes it on the back and says, kicks the carpet a couple of times and $80. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, usually what people will do is they'll present the pricing here on this form. And then when the customer says, because, you have to allow for a split package. That happens a lot. It's like, well, I think I'm going to do a silver in the bedrooms, there's not a lot of traffic there, but the family room and the living room and the kitchen area, let's go ahead and get the protector for that area, so that's possible. So you'll write that up on your form as, 3 bedrooms, silver, you can put your square footage and you can have your pricing and all that. However you do that, whether it's room pricing or square footage pricing or whatever. But yeah, so you'll transfer this to some document that, that is professional and absolutely. You want to highlight all the memberships that you have because it makes it different. That's our biggest problem is that, and I mean, everybody's been harping on this in the industry for forever, is carpet cleaning is considered by many to just be a commodity. It's the same exact thing, and not only that, but hey, I can have you do it, or you know what, I might just do it myself, depending on how much it is, right? And it's like, yeah, obviously you've never done it before. It's a lot of bloody work, and so, I think all of that stuff, adds up. It's not one thing, but it's a bunch of them that come together in space and time in one place and make it kind of an irresistible offer. There's no real magic bullet.
Well, I think of when I go to like a doctor's office, the person you're sort of trusting your life to this guy's opinions and his analysis, and what's covering his walls. It's all these, papers that look so official from these universities, but if you go and look closely, it says, dog training class and, anyway, but there's all sorts of things up there to make it look like this guy is just like, he's never got out of college. He just keeps on going. He knows the latest. And it's the piece, but the other part too is dressing the part. And doctors wear the white coats. They have the stethoscope around their neck. And everybody there, when there's people around, doctor so-and-so. I mean, so it's titles. So certifications, the look of your vehicle, how long you've been in business. These are actually characteristics about your business that boost your value. And where people, especially when somebody just walks in and goes, yeah, I think I can suck some of that dirt out. And, if you get to compare like that, it really makes a difference. But again, what you've been sharing here is just, I think it's such a simple strategy, but nobody has, I haven't really put much thought into it. And I love the simplicity of this.
Yeah. No, it's really nice. And it's, the thing is, it's teachable. You can actually, and I've done that a lot, I'm standing in front of a room of 25 guys, and they're all, I'm at a company with a fleet, and these are the carpet cleaners, and, we got to teach them how to sell, how do you do that? You got to give them a track to run on. I guess you could try and teach higher sales techniques, and NLP and, presumptive closing and all of that, but not really.
Cowboy hat. All you need is a cowboy hat.
There you go.
That could be true. I'm not sure. That could be true.
Mark, I'd love to have you back again at another time to go into some other aspects of it. Because again, the simplicity of this, it would be easy to implement. And even like you say, have technicians that are out there on their own, follow through with this. But before, I would like you to kind of share some of the things that you are providing to carpet cleaners. But before I go to that, is there some way with technicians that you can encourage them? Is there like a reward for doing this properly or holding them accountable?
I think there has to be, right? Because otherwise, why would they do it? They've got to have skin in the game, which is where it starts to get complicated. How do you do that effectively? And there's a lot of different ways to do that, from just, okay, you're on commission now, that's it. You just get a piece and, you eat what you kill. Good luck. A lot of technicians don't like that. Doesn't feel very safe to them. So if you're going to transition to a model like that, you need to be sure and provide them a safety net. So what I encourage people to do is say, look, we think you're going to make more doing it this way, but I'll tell you what, if you do make more, I'll pay you more, but at the very least, I'll pay you what I'm paying you now, which is nice, because then they can't lose. You put them in literally a win-win situation, and they're far more likely to try it. If the technicians are paid too much, that can be an issue because, sometimes you've got to get that, back under control. And then that does happen. But the cool thing is, if you're looking at how much you pay people as a percentage of the total revenue, raising that total revenue makes it a lot easier to justify paying them what you're paying them. And one of the things that we've learned post-COVID is, not everybody wants to work these days, especially not, in a hot, sweaty carpet cleaning van necessarily. And so, they want us to make it worth their while. So a lot of times people are paying more. And my God, look at what's happened with gas and everything else. I don't really see how you succeed in this game without doing sales at some level. You can't just put your shingle out there and let the world beat a path to your door. It doesn't really work very well in my experience and in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and what we tell our guys is just, you walk in the door and you want the customer to like you because your day is going to go easier if they do.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing? You're doing sales right there. You're selling the customer on you. And that seems to be natural. So the next step is just understanding that all of the things that you do are part of your sales, is part of your sales program, your sales package.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. And well, I mean, Bryan, how many guys do you have that are doing, on location cleaning at this point?
At this point today, 12.
12. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, when you've got a group that size, there's always a certain amount of transition. Some people are leaving and new people are coming in, and it's, it becomes important to have a way of doing things. You've got to have a way that you teach everybody to shut down the truck mounts, and you've got to have a way that that you clean, a way that you set things up, and why not have a way of selling too, so it becomes really valuable, I think, as companies grow and as you scale it, because if it's a one guy and a helper, you're probably fine. You're just going to do what you do, and you're probably pretty good at sales, because if you weren't, you probably wouldn't have got into business. But when you start having other people do that for you, that gets tricky, because a lot of times they're not very good at it and they don't really want to do it.
And what we found is if we just expect it, we give them some parameters, we expect you to hit this much. We don't care if you're number 1 or number 10, as long as you're above whatever the threshold is. And then if guys can't make the threshold, they're going to go out with guys who do. Yeah, they're going to get inundated in, you just do this. It's not hard. You just do it. And it doesn't take very long before they can just do it as well.
Exactly. Yeah, it can be taught, but I think it's an idea that a lot of owner operators have never really thought of. It's like, oh, I'm going to have to be able to teach this. I'm going to have to take people off the street and turn them into carpet cleaners that can sell. There's all these, in fact, I have to do that regularly if I'm, going to run a multi-truck operation. That becomes another thing that I get to do in addition to everything else in the world. So, yeah.
Say, Mark, this is great stuff, mostly because of the simplicity of it. And it's not how we would normally think if we didn't have somebody like you enlightening us. Again, the simplicity, and it works. I trust those numbers that you're providing there. I think that's really great. If someone can't wait until the next time you come back to join us here and cover another topic, is there a way they can get in contact with you? And well, look at that. Okay.
Look at that. Ask and you shall receive. Yeah.
And can you briefly describe what sort of services that you provide to companies? Who would be like, oh, this is where I can really help you out? And I can see from the starting one, but especially I think, again, how you made that so simple. That seems like it's perfect for people who have, multiple technicians.
Yeah. I mean, the way I look at businesses, there's a few parts. So marketing is responsible, as we said earlier, for volume. And there's really only 2 streams of people coming in to your business from marketing: people that you've done business with before, and people that have no idea who you are yet. And you need to figure that out, and you need to maximize that. You need to be able to measure it, and you need to be able to control it. Then all of that volume gets passed through your sales, whatever that is. And so if you're doing this, you can measure it, you can teach it, and you can say, all right, what's the average job size? What's, how much protector are we selling? So you're able to actually quantify how well it's doing. And then there's production aspects, how well is it being run and how well is it being managed? You can measure all that stuff too. What I do is I work with people to get all those things in alignment, usually because they're thinking about selling. But not always. Sometimes the business that you built to sell is exactly the one that you'd want to keep, because it's the one that runs hands off. It's the one that doesn't require you to work 70 hours a week to keep, the lights on and the doors open. And so I tend to work with companies that are just kind of past the owner operator phase, that, are starting to have a few vans. And, let's say, I don't know, 400,000 and up, something like that. And then I've done a lot of work with really large companies. So I still do that. But I've been doing an awful lot of work just kind of helping people structure their businesses and make them better. And I'm putting together a group of people that are all doing that. And that's fun for me. I'm enjoying that a lot. So I'm getting a kick out of that. So that's what I'm doing these days.
That sounds great. In case somebody's driving and listening to this, I'm going to read it's Mark at levelsofsuccessprogram.com is the email address. And again, Mark, I appreciate you coming. Bryan, do you have any closing words for us?
Yeah, we had a couple of people that asked marketing questions that would be they'd be a good discussion. We might get 5 or 10 minutes out of each of them.
Sure. So
I'm going to suggest that you send those directly to Mark and see what he has to say.
This Bryan guy is really good at delegating, I've noticed. No, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. Yeah. Great.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark, for joining us. Bryan, always good to talk with you.
Thank you, Steve.
And
Thank
again,
you, Mark.
CFI makes this all possible. So if you have not checked them out, please do. I think the benefits are really great, and look forward to seeing you guys again in the future.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys. It was fun. I bet we do it again sometime. Always a pleasure to just hang out with you guys.